All right, let's get down to business. Why I gave up on the Seven Deadly Sins anime. Like, before we even get into this, like, I have watched this anime first season, no problem, because they make them very small. Like, they make each episode like 14 minutes. So people want to keep watching and binging it. They are really good at like the psychology of it all. They're really great at it, especially since we should be all up inside. Most of America isn't because they were told to get back to work and make this income when really they need to quit playing and they need to just well whatever. Let's not this is not what that's about. Aside from the fact that I believe that the seven deadly sins in the biblical standpoint are what make downfalls, I have high respect for this anime for doing that seven deadly sins thing. With all of these, I am not a manga reader. Like, I don't know the manga, I don't know their storylines in the manga, so I'm only going by what Netflix has put on Netflix. So with the Full Metal Alchemist crap, it was all right in the whole situation of it all, like the whole story. It was sad to me. The Brotherhood is kind of like a different story. It's kind of like I guess they're still fighting crime or whatever. I don't know if it's before or after, but like they did the seven deadly sins thing and it was really gross. But what I'll give credit to the seven deadly sins is the fact that they do it in a way that is like really interesting, and they're not just well gluttony, huge, he's fat, or well they are on the nose with some things, but that's what I'll get into when I get into it. But let's start. Let me just get this loser out of the way. Dragon's Sin of Wrath, Meliodas. I really would rather him not be associated with dragons at all. It's bad enough that the con man, Kardashian, said that he's got dragon energy or whatever. He does not have any sort of dragon energy. He doesn't even know what dragon energy is. He just says things just like when people are crazy, they say Michael Jackson's my father, or they say crazy crap. They like bring in greatness to themselves because they're trying to gravitate to greatness. But I digress. Meliodas, the king of predatory behavior. He runs a bar, drinks, and sexually assaults Elizabeth without repercussions. In every anime, there is this lewd way that they put the women and all that, and it's like that's not the issue. Make the women look how you want, but don't like make a character that gets no repercussions for doing so. Like, let me explain to you. In Pokemon, Ash Ketchum's friend, who would always talk to the nurse when they were going to get the Pokemons refreshed, they really pushed in hard that Brock, or whatever his name was being horrible. He was not doing a good thing. The girls would say, oh, that's gross, or they would have the guys say, oh, that's gross. Ash would always reprimand him and even say, the girls don't even want to be around you. Ironically enough, Barack was what I considered to be black, but he's probably Blasian, or he could be Filipino. He could be whatever. He's got dark skin and he seems to be Asian. So they did that purposefully. They said, oh, you cannot do this, but you have dark skin. But Meliodas is the lightest skin you could possibly have, and he's got golden locks. So he's not ever reprimanded. And if like, okay, I'll probably talk later about him being reprimanded, but it's not anything to the point where he stops. He never gets the sense of this is wrong. He does it because he gets away with it. Like, by repercussions, I don't mean getting yelled at by, like, pig that he ignores anyway. There's this character named Hawk who is like a pig, and he's like hanging around them and they're friends and all that. And he'll say, hey, stop doing that to Elizabeth. Like, he'll do that, and it's like it doesn't matter because he's a pig. He's like, he'll just literally kick him across the room. He doesn't care. He still sexually assaults Elizabeth. Elizabeth shows complete objection, and so does her father. Like, but Meliodas is credited for having more power than all the other characters. So I guess everyone is afraid to attack him for sexual harassment or something. I hate, like I said, that the dragon is even associated with his appearance and is portrayed as a young, innocent child. Everyone even talks about how young he looks. And he's supposed to be like 1,000 years old or whatever. He's supposed to be a demon or whatever. This is spoilers. I already put it in the description, but these are just things that if you're going to go into it, you got to understand, because it's like, I really cannot continue watching the show. And I don't know if it goes away, because I can't. Y'all already put the precipice of that's what's going to be like. Only pervs would even find this enjoyable. It's really uncomfortable and annoying that Elizabeth is supposedly canonly powerful, but she curls up and whimpers every time he touches her. Like, it's gross. It's really disgusting. There's this show that I was watching called, like, Street Food or something. It's like street chef competition or something, and it's just this guy chef, and apparently he makes, like, food so good that, like, girls orgasm to it, and it's, like, really gross. And guys do it too, but it's just, like, they make the girl the prominent thing, and it's just like, okay, wow, really? I can't even watch this show because y'all are going to keep doing it. And it started in the first couple of seconds. There was, like, a octopus wrapping around the girl, and once you see that, you already know what this anime is about, so you might as well just turn it off. I don't remember any lewd scenes in the first season relative to, like, octopus tangling around the Asian girl, but there is a lot of nudity, but not nudity like I don't think you ever see nipple, but it's so much you might as well. Honestly, they really just might as well, like, what were y'all going for? It shows the lack of respect Meliodas has for Elizabeth, despite his fetish with her soul. Little tad bit for those who don't know, he sexually assaulted the body of Elizabeth's past life, Liz. She put up more of a fight, but that's not the point. It should have stopped after the first time she objected to the touching. They played this assault like a relationship, but Liz kept in contact with him, so she shouldn't have objected if she wanted to be with him despite his, like, perverted flaws. It just sets it up for, like, oh, you asked for it. Basically, she's the definition of you asked for it, because she still talks to him and still acted like. And then when she died, he was, like, touching all up on her corpse. Like, it's too much. I don't care about his growth or story or brother. They made him too flawed to enjoy the show. Like, what is he so wrathful about too? Like, they probably explain later down the line why he's so wrathful, but like they set it up in the first season and a little bit of the second season that it's because he lost his love. But you know what? He lost a sex object that he found again in another girl. So he needs to get over that and stop being so quote unquote wrathful. Bon also lost his quote unquote sex object that is disgusting, and I will get to that in a little second. People can't say because he's supposed to be a demon, he can get away with being a perverted. And funny enough, he's not the only one with predator like tendencies. The next person that I'm going to talk about, because I'm done talking about Meliodas. Like, if you want to watch the show, he's the main character. And if you look online, it'll say he's a protagonist when he really is an antagonist. He's an antagonist. He is not a protagonist. He should be considered the antagonist. He antagonizes everyone around him. He's literally useless. Like, useless in the sense of, like, take him out of the story and everything would probably be a whole lot better. Fox, Sin of Greed, Bon, the jester of predatory behavior. He's introduced as a predator. He strips a woman down and takes her clothes. And did he rape her? Who knows? No, she just is found nude inside the castle. I don't watch subs unless I'm like forced to. But in the English version, he appeared not to know that she was a girl until he saw her body. So, considering Elaine's body is type best described as prepubescent child, because that's what all the fairies look like for some reason, except the ones that are the villains. They kind of look older, and they have an older voice sound, like, but whatever. This is what tips the scale for me about Bon, the gross alcoholic. Sidebar: Elaine is the sister of Fairy King of the Fairies. it's crazy. His name's King, but it's just like they call him King, and I was just like, he's the king of the fairies. So it's like, what were you before you were the king? So I don't know. I guess his name's King, and then he became king, but whatever. Like, there, it just looks terrible. Like, especially with the relationship he's got with Diane, and I cannot. I'll talk about that in a second. Like, so the whole thing with Bon is that he's greedy. He wants more than what he's got. He's an alcoholic, and they make him like that bad guy. Like, they made him an Axel type. I don't know who came first, Axel or this guy, but in Kingdom Hearts, Axel is like the bad boy that ever, except in 3. Like, if you see 3, you'll be like, what on earth? Like, everything past 358 days over 2 or whatever it's called, they destroyed Axel. Like, even in 2, he's kind of tipping the scale of wimp and why are you in my face? But the very first time you see him in what's it called? Rechain of Memories. Ironic that I couldn't remember Rechain of Memories. But he is the best in that. Like, he actually looks like he's got a motive. He actually has feeling, and he's not just a walking, talking, like, girl object, basically, to make girls want to watch and play the game, because you've got characters that are girls that are weak and horrible, and you never play as them, except in the downloadable content that's, like, $30 more than it should be. It should be a part of the game, but we're not talking about Kingdom Hearts. We're talking about Seven Deadly Sins anime. So, Bon, he's the one that represents greed. I only see greed in him in the not hidden standpoint. Like, with Meliodas, you see a lot of his wrath in, like, for the most part. Every time he doesn't get his way, he starts sounding like he actually means business, because he's always happy-go-lucky, and I guess he's trying to hide the anger he's got, but it's like, I could care less about him because he's a predator. Could care less about him. They made him the protagonist, which is disgusting, and they don't give him any like, they don't try to stop it. They just, like, here you go, that's who you get. And then but Bon, he just steals things. It's not subtle. His sin isn't subtle. So I really don't have much to say about him, except they only use him to bring in girls, I think, to the anime. Like, because he's that type of guy that, like, oh, all the girls will fall for that. Like, they even make the girls in the show fall for him when he's wearing a shirt that's like 9 sizes too small for him. And it looks really strange. I would have been like, dude, you look weird. The next one, Grisly Sense of Sloth, okay? Fairy King, the king of the fairies. I'm the biggest fan of his story. A king who failed his people and must regain his honor, kind of like a Zuko type thing. I hated his relationship with the forgetful Diane, as he basically was an adult before she was an adult. Yet another, like, predatorial relationship. Despite Diane being a giant, she was watched over by King while she was a baby, basically. So, when he got older and she got older, like, big no-no. When did he fall in love with her? Like, they keep taking her memory away. And the big reason why I stopped watching the anime is because she'll like, regain it all and then lose it all. Regain it all and then lose it all. I'm so sick of seeing that. She just needs to keep her memory or whatever. They just do that so that they can keep having this tension between her and him, and when she should just be like, I don't like you. She, disgustingly enough, likes Meliodas. She's a giant. She could stomp him. She could eat him. I don't understand why she even likes him. Like, I understand because if you watch the anime, you'll understand why she feels indebted to him, but she should feel that way about King. But she can't get that chance because she keeps losing her memory. For some reason enough, less to where she knows the captain, who is Meliodas, but she doesn't know Fairy. Like, Fairy King. Interesting. Speaking of Diane, Serpent's Sin of Envy, Diane. I forgot why I didn't like her. Just kidding. She literally loses her memory like every other episode. It's really disgusting. they keep milking this amnesia teat like PewDiePie used to a long time ago when he played it. Like, her story is annoying and they make her stupid. She's in love with a womanizer predator whom she wishes would sexually assault her. Sad simping behavior. It's just so gross. Her sin, like, I didn't really talk much about Fairy King's sin because his sin is kind of like deep woven into his story. Like, Sloth, basically he didn't want to rule, and then he's like, well, I lost my people, Simba. Like, he left and his people suffered for him leaving. It's like that situation, except he's not a child, he's an adult when that happens. But Diane has more of she was envious of her partner or whatever, I don't remember, but it's more like it's hard for me to care about her storyline when she keeps losing her memory. It's really like, why? What's the point of me even keeping that in my brain? The next one, Goat's sin of lust, Gother. Best character to me, most unique, less on the nose. His introduction is cool because you don't really know it's him unless you really know if you know what they look like, you're like, okay, yeah, that's him. But even before that, he kind of has a different look, and it'd be interesting if they kept him being a different person going, but they didn't. He's kind of just pink and out now, rather than changing changing what he looks like. I feel like he could have been the exact same way, but be Merlin. He doesn't emulate lust as much as he could be gluttony, aside from his race, which is supposedly a doll, basically sex doll. But if he were a wizard with the same abilities, he'd be more tolerable. He's like not real, supposedly, and it's just like, I hate when we have to deal with someone who's not real. Just like in A Kill a Kill or whatever it's called, with those assassins, where that guy is like a golem and he's helping them, and he's like a bull or something. They're like, oh, haha, like, he's one of us, but he's not one of us. It's kind of like, stop making things that aren't real a part of the gang. Like, I'm not into that. I'm not into like iRobot type stuff. I think they're just trying to emulate Star Wars with dude R2D2 or whatever his name is, RH negative, whatever. When I say be Merlin, I'm saying be a guy, because they also do something to Merlin, which is the next person, Boris, sin of gluttony. Merlin is a girl for some reason, and like I said, I have a number of videos discussing how Hollywood and people who make these shows love to gender switch and bender switch the races, the ethnicities of characters that they know will make people a little on edge with the situation. They love to put girls on the front line when it's only theirs to lose, when there are no women at the top getting any type of money for this. If the highest paid person on the payroll is just an actor or a voice actor, and that's it, you done messed up. That's not the only representation that needs to be fought for. But I digress. This is just an anime. Why is she a woman? Like I said, as a woman, I'm disappointed. Like, why not keep Merlin a man and be like gay? Maybe that would be interesting. Is it too much to have a gay person in your anime when you've got like molesters in here? When you've got a lot of predatory issues here? As it stands, she's interesting, but not prevalent in either first or second season. I stopped around the second season. I didn't see the new one that just came on Netflix, nor did I see the Gods of the Sky or whatever it's called. She's introduced late. She just floats there for the most part. Disappointing female character for lack of personality. if they gave her more of a relationship with the Sins, she wouldn't be so annoying. If the girls aren't fine with sexual harassment, they act like they secretly want it, or they're bland like her. Aside from the pink girl, who's my favorite woman character in the story, she has personality and she's got like a family and everything. Merlin is too bland for me, with no chemistry with any of the Sins. Like Bond, King, and Meliodas have chemistry together despite their solo past stories not having anything to do with each other. Her only connection to the Sins is being in a relationship with Escanor, who is ignored until season 2. I think it's season 2. Merlin should have been a man, gay perhaps, for Escanor, but I feel like they were afraid to do that, but not be perverted, and writing complacent, annoying, or bland women. Merlin highlights the lack of personality diversity among the women of the Sins, and even the Holy Knight woman. All are very disappointing. The Holy Knight woman that was stripped of, by the way, side dish, that girl who was stripped by Bond likes him. That's great, right? Can't just be tormented. Have to be Stockholm syndrome. Hers is very difficult to pinpoint because I didn't watch the whole thing, so maybe it'll show her past of why she would be considered gluttonous. I guess because she wants to learn a lot, but like that's it. That's all I could get from that. Let's go to her boyfriend real quick. Escanor, completely omitted from the first season to build up his strength. Frankly, I'd rather have him as a main character and not the predator sin of predatory behavior Meliodas. Like, he could have been the main character and Meliodas could have been a side character like everybody else is to Meliodas. I don't know much about Escanor because I lost interest in the show before more episodes with him popped up. I know he has like the Jekyll Hyde situation with his personality and power, so that's cool for me. Pride, he's a lion, so they probably did that whole thing. He probably is very prideful in one and bashful in the other. That's cool. He's also the last sin. So let's talk about some honorable mentions with this anime. The story is a good story. I suggest people make their own opinion about the anime, keeping in mind the flaws that I talked about. The Holy Knights are more compelling characters than any of the Sins, to let you know. It seems like more of a realistic story with them, like they're actual people. The Sins are highly strung in different directions, aside from Merlin, who was literally just there to be the magical one. I stopped watching before the conclusion of the Demon Clan. They seemed cool for the most part. I didn't see the Goddess Clan or whatever, but I would have high hopes for my enjoyment of them. Like I wouldn't have high hopes because Elizabeth is supposedly of the Goddess Clan and she's a passive playmate. So they might all act like this. I really don't want to see them just be like fine with being touched on. If the whole point is to hate the Sins or have them being extremely flawed, I guess they succeeded. But Meliodas and Bond are far too flawed for moral reasons, especially considering neither are punished for their wrongdoings. Bond is more punished because he actually they both lose their playmates. But Bond goes through more of a struggle than I think Meliodas did. And it's interesting because one of them is wrath, like he's wrathful for what's happened to him. And the other person's greed because they want what they could never have. But that's just my opinion. So I'm pretty much done talking about the 7 Deadly Sins. I may, just because I was doing this video, I may go and watch some. But I really, it's hard for me. It's really hard for me based on what I've told y'all. And I just suggest watching the first season. You're going to have a lot of questions because I did. So you can watch the second season. There's a movie and then there's another season that came out, I think. And I'm really not interested in seeing that because it just goes really bad. Like, their characters are just too flawed for me to enjoy them. And that's basically it. Like and subscribe. I've got my social medias down below. I'm trying to work on getting on Twitch because Mixer sold out, or they went bankrupt, or I really could care less. They're not helping me out much, so I really have not been on Apex Legends. Probably suck now. But if you are interested in seeing my past streams, I was able to save a few before they completely shut down the system and I can't get my stuff. Despite it being connected to Microsoft, they should have sent it to my email. There are a few of my videos that I talk about things like video games and like shows and stuff, with me playing Apex Legends, Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, and a few other things like GTA. So yeah, that's it. Seven Deadly Sins is a good anime with terrible characters on Netflix. And just found out that Merlin is like a 3-year-old kid. Like, that's her natural form, I guess, or whatever. Disgusting. That's why I can't watch this disgusting anime.